Since Trump took over the White House, he's publicly complained about his staff, department heads, and cabinet not following his commands. Of course, the reason was simple. Trump was demanding that they either act highly unethically or break the law. And to the credit of many of them, they refused. But Trump knows little and cares even less about the law, constitutional or otherwise. It's well documented he's violated the law his entire adult life and gotten away with it. Trump has always believed that attaining the office of the presidency offered him dictatorial privileges over everyone. He always demanded absolute loyalty, his words, and immediate, unquestioning implementation of his commands. But he didn't always get either, and he spent the first 2 years in the White House wondering aloud, "Where's my Roy Cohn?" Roy Cohn was a lawyer who worked with J. Edgar Hoover for years in the anti-communist movement. He was Senator Joseph McCarthy's chief counsel for several years, including on the House Un-American Activities Committee. He was known as a quintessential political fixer and as Trump's mentor and personal attorney before being disbarred in 1986 for unethical conduct. After occupying the White House, Trump went through one Attorney General AG after another looking for his Roy Cohn. He went through 4 of them in about 2 years. 3 of them were acting AGs, and only Jeff Sessions got the actual position. But Sessions, to his credit, refused to just blindly enforce Trump's orders. Enter William Barr. Bill Barr was an ex-AG for Bush Sr. He paved the way to exempt Reagan and Bush Sr. from prosecution for their criminal involvement in the Iran-Contra crimes. After that, Barr became a far-right pundit for elitist rule and authoritarianism. He held plenty of cushy, high-paying private sector jobs as a corporate lawyer and as an executive for GTE before it merged into Verizon. I don't think his motives are financial, but ideological. He's a far-right fascist through and through. He rejects the divisions of power as required in the U.S. Constitution and believes the office of the president should be superior to the other branches of government, and that right-wing holders of the office, like Trump, should be given broad legal exemptions and political powers to enact elitist-friendly far-right agendas. He's on record during several interviews as a staunch defender of executive privilege and the OLC rule that a sitting president can't be indicted, while neither position is in the Constitution or is federal law. In other words, he supports an authoritarian office of president that possesses power over and above all branches and agencies of government. What he is a Republican attack dog and cover-up man, a political fixer in the tradition of Roy Cohn. What? Do you think it's a mere coincidence he was placed as AG barely a month before the Mueller investigation ended? Barr was brought in specifically to cover up Trump's crimes. Upon taking his post, he immediately began towing the Trump line, downplaying the investigation and claiming Trump was being personally victimized and politically persecuted by the investigation, the investigators, and the democratically controlled House of Representatives. He was placed as AG to cover up the Trump crimes exposed by the report and divert attention to unjustified, absurd issues like investigating the investigators, to purge the federal law enforcement agencies, like his own Department of Justice, of any anti-Trump sentiment or political positions that contradict his own. He's an anti-constitutional, anti-democratic elitist. He's the corruption protector for the GOP. Here's his timeline of events. On February 14, 2019, William Barr was confirmed as AG. Just 1 month and 1 week later, on March 22nd, Mueller handed over his report to the Department of Justice and Barr. That same day, Barr issued his 4 pages summarizing the over 400-page report. In his 4-page summary, Barr lied and declared the report exonerated Trump of any wrongdoing or criminal acts, when in fact it laid out evidence he committed several felonies and at least 10 counts of obstruction of justice. And the report stated it was meant to serve as a referral to Congress to initiate impeachment proceedings. On March 27th, Robert Mueller wrote Barr a letter saying he failed to accurately capture the substance of the 2-year investigation. Barr then discusses the report with Trump and his lawyers before releasing it to the public. He offered Trump legal advice, and a public relations strategy was worked out and agreed upon to be conducted by Trump and Barr and in conjunction with GOP senators. These are all crimes intended to coordinate a cover-up. On April 18th, just prior to releasing a redacted version of the report, Barr holds a news conference and gave a speech in support of Trump. He acted as Trump's personal attorney rather than as the nation's attorney general and top law enforcement officer. Barr declared executive privilege over the redacted portions of the report. But finally, Barr admitted that the report details 10 episodes of possible obstruction on the part of Trump, but discusses potential legal theories against connecting those activities to the elements of an obstruction offense. Barr said he and Deputy AG Rod Rosenstein found that the evidence was not sufficient for an obstruction charge and that he never spoke to Mueller about his decision not to file criminal charges against Trump. But there's a problem here. Barr doesn't have the authority to decide whether to indict or not. That's Congress's prerogative, and the report expressly said so. Barr conveniently left that part out. And ever since, Trump and his criminal Republican senatorial public relations team have been inundating the media and the internet with the lie that no crimes were committed and Trump was completely exonerated on all counts. May 1st, Barr testifies before the Senate and makes misleading statements or just flat-out lies on several occasions. And since then, Barr, supposedly the nation's top law enforcement officer, has violated every congressional subpoena requiring he testify further. Since taking office, Trump has tried to legitimize the unfounded position that Obama's administration illegally spied on his campaign. This was nothing but a PR ploy to distract from the Russia investigation. Trump now says those who played a role in investigating him are guilty of treason, a crime punishable by death. Last year, Trump tried to revoke the security clearance of the former CIA director who played a role in opening the Russia investigation. He then sought to release classified documents to prove he was the target of a witch hunt. Both attempts failed thanks to his staff's half-hearted efforts and by Justice Department officials who fought Trump, warning he was putting national security at risk. But Barr has quickly plotted a new scheme to achieve these ends. Barr advised Trump to bestow upon him unprecedented and unconstitutional authorities to re-examine the roots of the Russia investigation, giving Trump new hope that inflicting retribution on his perceived political enemies. But the basis and justifications for the investigation were detailed on page 1 of Mueller's report. Trump took the insane and highly illegal step of granting Barr the power to declassify any and all documents held by the CIA and the country's 15 other intelligence agencies. This latest insanity by Trump is a severe escalation of his ongoing assault on the intelligence community. Granted, I'm not a big fan of corporate or government secrets, but this, of course, is just part of the planned strategy to cover up Trump's crimes and divert attention from the real findings in the Mueller report. Trump's PR now includes the claim that there was a hoax that was perpetrated on our country. And there was. The hoax was his presidential election. Meanwhile, Barr and the DOJ are completely ignoring the crimes Trump committed that were clearly detailed in the Mueller report. According to 2 administration officials, this was a concerted, well-planned effort by Barr for the White House to grant him unprecedented, far-reaching powers for his review. The White House counsel, Pat Cipollone, supervised the effort to grant Barr's request, the official said. Barr's unconstitutional and illegal new powers and directive indicate that Trump has finally found an additional, long-awaited, loyal ally in his war on truth and the Constitution. It now appears Trump has found his new Roy Cohn, a willing and eager participant in protecting Trump from his own criminal activity. Remember, since Barr's AG confirmation, he has aligned himself with Trump on every issue. He declared investigations into the Trump campaign was spying, and he declined to denounce the lie that the Russia investigation was a witch hunt. And he decided that there was insufficient evidence to indict Trump for obstruction of justice, a conclusion contrary to the Mueller report. Trump's goal of personalizing and politicizing law enforcement is a complete corruption of presidential authority. Thanks to Trump, his GOP enablers, and Barr, we have no functioning government. All we have is an acting dictator who's been given free rein to commit crimes and attempt to persecute those who expose those crimes, to make unilateral decisions and act like a buffoon, a gangster doofus. Watch for part 3 of this series coming soon. And resist, refuse, revolt.